Hello and welcome to Middle East Matters. I'm Thomas Waterhouse. Here's a summary of what's to come in this week's programme. Israel's police are pushed under the spotlight. Allegations surface that officers have illegally used Pegasus spyware to snoop on the lives of dozens of high-profile figures. We'll be taking you to some of the more destitute districts of the Lebanese city of Tripoli, where numerous households have seen a younger member of the family leave home to join the Islamic State group. And its lyrics have been packing so much of a political punch that it's gone viral across the Arab world. We'll be speaking to the Israeli comedian whose performance of the song Dubai, Dubai has kicked up a storm. First then, Israel's president has warned that the country's democracy and key institutions are at stake. That message came after a newspaper published reports which claim that police have illegally used Pegasus malware to spy on dozens of ministers, activists or business leaders. And as Catherine Viette explains in this report, the Prime Minister says no stone will be left unturned.
A national scandal is brewing over the alleged illegal use of Pegasus spyware. According to the latest reports by the newspaper Calculist, heads of government ministries, journalists, mayors, activists, and people close to former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, including one of his sons, were targeted. The revelations have impacted Netanyahu's corruption trial after the court hearing his case suspended the proceedings. The focus has again turned to the Israeli company NSO, whose Pegasus spyware was a formidable diplomatic weapon during the Netanyahu era. Ironically, it was Netanyahu himself, back in December 2015, who encouraged the new police chief to utilize cyber surveillance technology.
I think you will do a great job with cyber technology. I expect, Ronnie, that you will use these technologies for policing, but also for the daily protection of civilians and for law enforcement.
The police's cyber intelligence unit is accused of installing the Pegasus spyware on phones without authorization. The revelations have left the Israeli government in an awkward spot. The Prime Minister has promised a swift investigation.
Regarding the Pegasus affair, the reports apparently describe a very grave situation that is unacceptable in a democracy. These cyber tools were designed to fight terrorism and serious crime, not to be used against citizens.
Pegasus spyware has been at the center of a months-long global scandal after it was discovered that governments worldwide used the technology to spy on political rivals, activists, journalists, and even other heads of state.
To some of the poorest neighbourhoods of the Lebanese city of Tripoli now, with a major and persistent economic crisis leaving many out of work and out of pocket. Dozens of young men of Sunni origin have chosen to leave the country to join the ranks of the Islamic State organisation elsewhere.
When Zakaria left his hometown of Tripoli in December, his family thought he was going to try his luck in Europe. But a few days later, the news fell. The 22-year-old was identified as one of the Lebanese killed during attacks on the Islamic State group in Iraq.
No one told us where or how, they just said he was dead. When we heard, we started looking for answers. The government didn't ask for anything.
Among the other fighters killed was Omar Saif, a teenager also from the Sunni community in northern Lebanon. For his mother, these young people have no future. Only poverty or exile.
When a young man between 15 and 30 can't get married or buy anything or go to a restaurant like everyone else, of course he will choose death, or he's an easy prey for recruitment.
For the village mayor, the attitude of the Lebanese authorities is part of the problem, between harassment of young Sunnis and indifference to those who leave. As a result, the mystery surrounding these disappearances remains unresolved.
We want to know who is behind these disappearances. There's something wrong. Someone is playing with their minds. But who and how?
Between 70 and 100 young people have left Lebanon's Tripoli area since December, and the country's worsening economic crisis could further accelerate the departures.
Now, it's not every day that an Israeli song makes waves across the Arab world, but one ditty titled Dubai, Dubai has done just that. It criticises the recent deal to normalise ties between Israel and the UAE, and it's been watched, rewatched and tweeted thousands of times. Let's take a quick listen to an extract.
Dubai, 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 Dubai.
Well, for more, we can speak now to the comedian Noam Shuster Eliassi, whose performance of that song in perfect Arabic has gone viral and set many tongues wagging. Thank you so much for joining us here on Middle East Matters. First of all, are you surprised at the reaction to this song across the Arab world?
Yes and no. I mean, we know it's an explosive issue and a very sensitive topic, and it's not the first time that items that I do in Arabic go viral, but the amount of craziness, it felt like an explosion, yes.
Now, if we take a closer look at some of the lyrics, you target Israel's recent deal to normalise relations with the UAE. What is so wrong with that accord in your view?
Well, first of all, I'm a comedian. I'm supposed to, make people uncomfortable. This is our role. The role of comedy and satire is to re-examine the power dynamics and power structure. I personally think that it's ridiculous that we are waving how proud we are that we've done agreements with Arab countries while our leaders completely neglect any kind of criticism or any strategy of agreements here with the Palestinians who are living with us. And this is a satire show. It was performed as a satire show in Arabic. I'm a Jewish comedian who performs also in Arabic. And so this song, who has been written by the main editor of the show, Razi Najjar, we wanted to attack this topic exactly, and we did it. I think it's important that we talk about, the irony also of these agreements. Of course, relationships and changing the strategies in the Middle East, it could be a positive thing, but without talking about equal rights and justice and ending the occupation of the Palestinian people, I think we have nowhere to go and we cannot escape from it. So it's ridiculous that we're waving a flag of peace while here the situation is horrible, and Amnesty just, took out the report with conclusions of very, very disturbing facts about crimes of apartheid and crimes against humanity. And so I'm proud to be a Jewish Israeli comedian who is speaking about these issues and not running away to do like Tinder jokes only and stuff like that.
But the position you hold is quite an unusual one for an Israeli. We should perhaps just quickly talk about some of the reaction that you've had to this song from your fellow countrymen and women in Israel.
Yeah. It's lonely. It's not the popular opinion, but no one ever began a revolution for justice by being in the popular position. I'm a minority right now, but as a Jew, on one side, I'm an Iranian Jew. My family came from Iran. On the other side, my Romanian grandmother survived the Holocaust. My Jewish history and my Jewish heritage, I know very, very well. The truth in the end exposes itself. And in the books of history, I would like to be written among the people who believed in full equality between Israelis and Palestinians and were not afraid to talk about it, even in the hardest times.
Okay, Noam Shuster Eliassi, thank you very much for joining us here on Middle East Matters. And we end this edition in Egypt, where plans are afoot for revenge on the football pitch after the Pharaohs suffered defeat at the hands of Senegal in the final of the Africa Cup of Nations tournament. The Egyptians now have their eyes set on a decisive World Cup playoff against their victors next month. The Egyptian team was left licking its wounds as its Cup of Nations dream came to an end in Cameroon. And that's all from me and the rest of the Middle East Matters team, but do stay with us here on France 24. There's more international news coming up shortly.
Join us here on France 24 for our special coverage of the mother of all elections here in France, the presidential election 2022. The campaign will have our special envoys on the campaign trail. Across the globe, we'll have the latest polling, the best analysis, every week here on France 24.
France 2022, the campaign on France 24 and France24.com. France 24, your window on the world. Liberté, égalité, actualité.